Announcements. Okay. Our speaker is Miss Charlene Grafton. Hopefully you've read her bio in the newsletter. She's a registered case manager nurse. Had some problems with a special disease she had, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about genetics and that sort of thing. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks for coming.
Okay,
Appreciate it. You got one. Okay.
Can everyone hear me?
Oh, yeah.
I've got a voice. Well, I'm delighted with the audience. This is bigger than Panama City, bigger than Albany, Georgia. So I travel around doing these types of presentations. This is like coming home here in Pensacola.
Lights.
I lived here for about 35 years. As I came in this morning, I drove down PJC. I know it. I taught tennis here for 15 years, and this is back in the 60s and the 70s. I started the tennis program at the University of West Florida, and also the tennis program at Pensacola Sports Center. And thank you, Linda, for coming. Not only that, as I drove down to the end of the tennis courts this morning, I saw the big hotel, the Hyatt. My son was the project director for this. So we're all Pensacola natives. And it's a great thrill to be here. I want to give you a lot of things to think about. Nothing specific, but things to think about this road that we're on. I'm going to start out with an introduction, and then we'll get into the PowerPoint presentation. In 1953, my mother passed away, leaving me an inheritance. It wasn't money that she left to me, nor property, nor possessions. My inheritance was her mission to confirm, once and for all, that we were eligible for membership in the Daughters of the American Revolution. Gathering information led me on paths I didn't know I would trace, meeting people I didn't know existed, and writing another book that I had not envisioned. Many years later, after living with my mother and helping to take care of her, I moved to Las Vegas to help my sister care for my mother. And I was more than qualified to manage her care, since I was a healthcare professional. In the 3 years between 91 and 94, my quality time with her, I learned a great deal more about my mother's early life in Texas, and some of the tales of family stories that often perplexed me, as well as my sister. My mother knew a lot about plants and animals, but I do not recall her ever going outside. She grew up in a rural community in Lamar County, Texas. But anyway, as the months went by, and as she saw how active both my sister and I were in walking, running, golf, tennis, she began to add me little tidbits about her former life. She was an All-American basketball player. In the last year of her life, she told me she could throw a javelin, do a long jump, and a pole vault while she was in college in Texas. After her death, I wrote several short stories about her, incorporating them into a family memoir. And my father, Oscar Huckabee, in a short time in college, boasted of playing baseball as a shortstop. One item always came up for discussion at family gatherings with my brothers and sisters was, where did our athletic genes come from? Was it our mother or was it our father? I believe in the written word, and I'm a prolific writer, and I love to talk about real events. My collegiate career at Oklahoma City University was a journalism major until I changed to Mercy Hospital School of Nursing, which was incorporated with Oklahoma University. So you know Oklahoma's had a good week. I'm not going to say anything else. Anyway, after a semester I changed course, and as a nurse, I was called to duty during the Korean War, and I served not only in San Antonio, Denver, and a year in Japan. And as time passed in my health and wellness career, whether it was the operating room or emergency room, I used to work on 9th Avenue at the old Sacred Heart Hospital in the ER. And this was in the 70s, early 70s. And when the new Sacred Heart opened, I lived at Cordova Park. So I worked in the emergency room there. So anyway, as time went by and passage of things happened, I got into computers, believe it or not. And that was the end thing. And I got into computers, and you know how writers are in writing. I took a course called the Internet for the Healthcare Professional. And that changed my life. I learned a lot about how to research diseases. And that was sort of like my beginning of where we are today. So this was back in the early 90s. Anyway, in 2006, I became not only a genealogy enthusiast, but a DAR member as a remembrance for my mother. With the result of DAR recognition, I found I needed to know more about my family's health. And as a healthcare consultant, I knew personalized healthcare was coming. And I wanted to prepare not only my family, but the people that I worked with. And this led me on a very interesting pathway. And that's why I'm here today. Unfortunately, I developed an infection, and I was given an antibiotic, and it was Septra Diaz. Been around forever. It's a sulfur drug. And I'd had it before. But I developed a severe reaction. It resulted in 2 different hospitalizations, a DVT. I lost all the skin on my feet and legs, my hands. I lost my nails. I was critically ill. During this time, as I was recovering, I began to do a lot of research because the doctors that I knew and the people that I was dealing with didn't know what really should be happening to me. It was a terrible predicament. In other words, not all medical professionals know how to deal with adverse reactions. And as you're going to hear me talk about, DNA. During this time of researching, I found that by doing some research, I found Dr. George Church at Harvard University, and he had begun the Personal Genome Project at Harvard. And to be able to get into this organization of people who want to help others and whatever problems that are out there in human disease traits, I began to find out a lot more. And there's there's a great deal to it, and I'm number 1,234 participants in the United States. And what we've done is we're sort of like guinea pigs. Whatever they send to me, you know, whether it's another saliva sample or answering a whole bunch of stuff about traits and things like that. This has been going on, and it's been very interesting. I ended up having to take a course, a molecular biology course, to be able to get into this. Here I was, 80 years old, almost 80, and I had to take a course, and I didn't think I could do it, but I did it, and it had to be 100%. So, I am one of those participants in the Personal Genome Project, and we're doing a lot of things for people in the United States and helping them, finding out more about themselves so we can help others. So as a public speaker, I've been all over the Southeast, and I've been doing this since about 2007. I worked for Bridgeway Services in Northwest Florida, and I wrote a grant and presented it at the state AAA, the Area Agency on Aging, and also the Council on Aging, for the monies to go to various groups just like this today. And I didn't get the grant, but I still do it. So what I was following were the advances in medical treatments and comparing them with different populations. For example, with the European, that's the white population, the Native American, that is red, the African, which is black, and the Asian, which is yellow, to find out the genetic answers for their chronic disease traits. It's been very interesting. And after signing up with the National Genographic Project, anybody here with that? Okay. That's an international project with a leading researcher from Stanford, Dr. Spencer Wells. I learned that my ancestors came from Africa, up the Middle East, Europe, and into Britain, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland. And I followed this with my mind and eyes wide open, seeing the PBS show, The Journey of Man. If you haven't seen it, get online. You can see it just by, if you know how to stream, you can do it. So gene testing became very important to me as I was learning about how malignant transformation can occur with a breakdown or a mutation in my genes. And this is what happened to me. It was a mutation in my genes. The problem stemmed from the fact that I'd had 12 skin cancer removals. And that's what happened to me. Was it genetic? Was it environmental? You're going to learn more as we talk. Anyway, it came out as it was a groin tumor. And that's where the squamous cell cancer got into my right groin. And then another one 3 months later. And I had surgery. The pathologist didn't tell me that he also sent the specimen to the Genzyme Corporation for further testing. I didn't know this. I didn't know until Medicare sent me a letter telling me that they had denied paying for a test. And I said, what test? I wrote them a letter. I said, if my doctor asked for it, it should be done. And I related all these problems that I've been having. Well, I didn't get an answer back. Almost a year later, I was looking at the bills paid from my insurance company, and I saw they paid for a test that I didn't know I had. Well, it took me a couple of weeks to figure out where I could even get a copy of it. I called Genzyme, they wouldn't even answer me. Called Medicare, didn't get an answer. I went to 2 hospitals and finally got a copy of the Genzyme report. I got this report after I had already had cancer treatment. So things began to tell me I needed to do more research, and I did. I'm the one that figured out what all happened. And I wrote a book about it. And there's a lot more to this book. And a lot more about how to go about helping the family. So anyway, I found the reasons for the squamous cell cancer, but other inheritable diseases as well. If I'd only known, I would have certainly made better choices in my health care. The cancer treatment caused me reoccurrences in the Stevens-Johnson syndrome, which was the adverse reaction. So I had it all over again. So as time goes on, and I'm still researching and finding out a lot, coupled with my friendship with the Valparaiso librarian, who I do a lot of programs for, who happens to be a history professor, I began to learn about haplotypes, phenotypes, Neanderthals, Denisovans, and with this history of ancestry, both male and female, I began to learn more and more about genetic health and its diseases. And that's why I wrote the book, What's in Your Genes? Human Threads Linking Genetics and Genealogy. And it explains my entire story about how this happened, how it could happen to you, or your family, or someone you know. What the Personal Genome Project does is it allows the organization online to review all of their participants' trait history, disease history. It's for all to see. And that's what my book is about, for all to see. Didn't hold anything back, and there's a lot to it. The careful matching of your biology to your medical care is known as personalized medicine. And it's already being used by some physicians, not all. But that's where we're headed. And that's why I'm here today, to encourage you to follow some of the steps as we go through it. Through the results of my ancestral gene testing from saliva, I confirmed from my mother's ancestors' lives with a history of farming in Britain, Scotland, and Ireland, and later the USA, from Massachusetts, Virginia, the Carolinas, Georgia, and Texas. All of these require physical hardships and long hours, which is endurance. According to the Nature Neuroscience magazine in January of 2013, studies show that DNA markings may transfer from learned physical experiences biologically and may inherit. You may inherit from your ancestors through their epigenetic, environmental experiences and have an overall effect on later generations from male sperm. Is this the first time you've heard of epigenetics? Raise your hand. Okay. I confirmed my ancestral heritage by researching and found my great-great-grandfather, Elijah William Collins, was born while George Washington was still president. He was a soldier in the Black Hawk War in 1836 and 37, and he fought with his brother-in-law, Robert Murphy, and William Clark, Daniel Boone, and Abraham Lincoln. And he moved from Illinois to Tennessee and afterward to the Cherokee Nation in Alabama. Following that, he served in the Sabine Volunteers as a captain for Texas independence at San Jacinto. He was a well-to-do farmer all his life and died in 1840 in Tennessee. And his great-grandfather was John Collins, who initiated and became the founding father of Collinsville, Alabama. My great-great-grandfather was William C. Clark. He was in with Elijah Collins. He was born in 1790 in Virginia. And he began residence in Texas in the second 500 family of Stephen F. Austin's Mexican land grant conflict and contract. And he served in the Texas War of Independence, receiving an honorable discharge for his participation in San Jacinto under Captain Elijah W. Collins. And he received 3 land grants in Texas, but sold a part of one of them. And he has been acknowledged as one of the founders of Montgomery County, Texas, and then settling in Lamar County. And he's buried on the Horace F. Clark land, which is the cemetery. That happens to be my great-grandfather. And it's a property that was then owned by Gus Hutchison. That was also my other grandfather, near Tigertown, Texas. And Horace was awarded his land from participation as a Texas Ranger. Of these ancestors mentioned above, the records show they were from Scotland and Ireland. And as I reviewed the rosters of military services of the children's families with those children, they all settled in Lamar County, Texas. I wish I could have told my mother that not only was James W. Rutherford eligible for the DAR, but to my amazement, through genealogical research, my family history noted the Collins, Hardy, Huckabee, Hutchison, and Manor family lines also received eligibility for the DAR membership. Several years ago, my daughter Mary Catherine drove me to Lamar County. What a wonderful time we had. The County Genealogical Society, we practically lived there for a couple of days. They were so glad to see me and somebody that had all this knowledge about the family. And anyway, it was a great experience. My other ancestors were mainly doctors on my father's side. My grandfather, Charles Huckabee, delivered all of my siblings and me, along with practicing medicine in Arkansas, Texas, and Oklahoma, which is known as the Arklatex, on his horse and buggy. From researching the National Library of Medicine, from one of my family tales, I learned he attended a medical conference in Paris, France in 1892. And from the Vienna physicians learned the first attempts to use muscle and IV medication to treat patients for their pain. And his great-great-great-great-grandfather, John Huckabee, came to the U.S. from England in the late 1600s. Another family member of mine, Philip Huckabee, was born in 1762 in North Carolina. He served as a fifer and a scout in the ARW. My great-great-grandfather, Philip Tom Huckabee, was in the Alabama militia as a private and served in Pensacola, Fort Varancas, and Camp Milton. Was captured in Mobile, but was released after capture. What a patriotic history that my search has uncovered for me and my family of 5 children. My 5 children are like me, good eye-hand coordination, and go for the gold in endurance sports. I'm a retired tennis professional with national and international fame, but also a writer about disabilities, chronic disease, neurosciences, and handiness. Anybody remember the National Left-Handers Tennis event we put on here? That was me. So after reviewing some of my revealed information from gene testing from 23andMe with physical traits information, I was more than amused, smiling all day long, that I have the CT genotype of muscle performance that many world-class sprinters and some endurance athletes have. So I must have the epigenetic marker and passed it on to some of my children. I have 2 grandchildren playing college tennis. So, as I traveled many of our states and foreign countries in my health and sports careers, I ruefully became confounded when many of the places that I had lived or visited or played tennis in were also the tracks of my family of ancestors. What a difference that would have made to me, intrinsically, if I had only known Omaha Beach, Morocco, Spain, Algiers, Germany, Austria, Italy, and America, Houston, San Antonio, Memphis, Macon, Shreveport, Alexandria, Fort Barrancas, Camp Milton, Kennesaw Mountain in Atlanta, and many others. So I can see that in the future that I'm going to be following up certainly more closely with my physicians, with the results of my gene testing, with the variations, the risks, and I'm more comfortable leaving a better health legacy for my family than the one that I was left with. So I'm here today, and I heartily recommend for you to take a look at your family genealogy, as I see the urgency to find out about your ancestry. Even the National Institute of Health and the Mayo Clinic, in one of their 2013 studies, believe that 70% of nurses have been identified as the key professionals in the process of collecting family history and helping you construct and use your family pedigrees in clinical practice. I am an advocate for every family having a designated family historian, with the addition of becoming a family health historian in 2014. So isn't it time to take your genealogy information and taking that next step to gather your health history information and then start some genetic testing? So I want to get started with our little program that I'm going to show you today. Any questions so far? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right, let's check out our I've got more gadgets than I know what to do with. Okay. So, disease traits, you've got all kinds of traits. Some you don't even know. Let's see. Whoop. Well, let's do that. Okay, let's try that. So, the words DNA and cells and chromosomes and gender, these are the items you really need to pay attention to when you are working with research. These are some of the books that I've written and that they are available. Some in PDF, most are in ebooks. And I do have a few here for a book signing after this is over, if you'd like, but they're also at Amazon. This is the program I presented in 2007, and which you're taking part in today. So with your traits, you're going to have physical traits. These, for example, are like Some people can do the Vulcan sign. I can't. I have to hold it. I can't do it. Some people can do it. You can have a long lobe on your ear or no lobe. These are all genetic things. They're physical traits. And the reason I kind of put in mental in between disease traits is because what I'm finding out through research and looking at chromosomes, for example, the trait of left-handedness also is on the same grouping with handedness.
With what?
Okay, so anyway, mental, that can also be epigenetic, things that happen. You know, there's a lot of abusive families, these are the types of things. So traits can be both physical and disease traits. So with biological agings, what happens is your body makes copies of themselves to offset injury and general wear and tear. Obviously, that's what happened to me, was a lot of wear and tear. And the term telomerase, a couple of years ago, 2 female scientists received an international award for their work in telomerase. And what they found was that they, pathologists and people that do personalized health care and can get into those chromosomes and those genes, they can cut them off. And that's what the telomeres are. If they can cut them off, that stops the disease from progressing. So these are some wonderful things that are happening. And I hope anytime you have a chance to support personalized medicine, you'll do it. So the obvious thing is matching treatments to your genes. So you need to find out what's in your genes. And this is the unique set of genes you inherit from your parents. So with DNA, you've got cells, chromosomes, and your DNA is just full of protein. One of the first things I thought of was if you eat more protein, would that help the proteins? No, different types of protein, different kinds of protein. So, the replication begins with those strands when they get out of whack. There's another slide in here that will show you what happens. That's your genetic code. And if any of those numbers get out of alignment, then that's what causes variations. So some variations have no negative effects, and then others have a lot. This is what's going on with our healthcare system, is because, and I'm one of those people with multiple chronic conditions, not because I had it, but because it happened to me from taking a pill that did all this to me. It was a variation. So it can happen. Through this course of disease, the government, which is Medicare, and my insurance, it cost $500,000. $500,000 for all the things that went wrong and all the medical treatment and all that stuff. So, to people with these types of complaints, 60% of the national health care costs are because of this. So we need to do something about it, and I think personalized health care is the way to go. And there are social issues about DNA and finding out about your genes. A lot of people don't want to know. 50% people do not want to know. Now I want to know, you can tell that. I mean, the Personal Genome Project, the Genographic Project. You know I want to know, but not everybody's like that. About 3 months ago, the headlines came out that the BRCA1, the BRCA2 genes that were patented and cost $7,000 for each test, that the Supreme Court ruled that you could not patent genes. And so that's a good thing. So, the new nurse. And this came out in the Florida newspaper, monthly newspaper. The new nurse is going to have you have the answers to the question, is gene testing a cash basis? Probably. Probably. Mine wasn't, I just didn't know better. Treatment? There are some diseases right now that are being paid for by insurance companies, but you have to really get on the phone and really work at it. Don't let them get away with it. And has gene testing been marketed prematurely? Well, according to the information about 23andMe, I mean, there's two sides to this. Number one, the owner of 23andMe was married to the owner of Google, and they got a divorce. So guess what? Google has, at one time, had Google Health and was all wrapped up with 23andMe, but since they split, well, Google Health got out. Microsoft picked it up, and it's called Health Vault. But the pressure's been on 23andMe. But what's been interesting is everything I get from all the medical reports that I get, the doctor's stuff and the information, and this is daily. The doctors thought 23andMe was doing a real good job. So it looks like there's, a lot of stuff, divorce-wise, that caused all this. And I think a big question is, do you need more than a four-generation pedigree? Yes, I think so. And a four-generation, that kind of gets you back just on that first page of your pedigree chart. But the problem is, I think to find out where your ancestors really came from, you're going to have to go back 5 and 6. Because this is going to be important, and I'll show you some more information on that. So here's that term again, epigenetics. So the DNA markings can transmit the learned experiences. It's an important role in biologic inheritance. And specific learned information can also be transmitted by epigenetic changes in the sperm. So this is really important. I have one son who's a safety engineer. And I have been explaining to him the importance of this for the people that work in power plants and around chemicals and things like that. And you'll see how important this is. If you want to put together your family health portrait, this is something your income taxes pay for. Just type in my family health portrait and you'll come up with the Surgeon General's website. And they've improved it a lot now because you can save it. When I first got involved in this, you couldn't save it. So you couldn't, as you learned more, you couldn't add to it or delete or whatever, but now you can. So the website, right here, right there. healthandhumanservices.gov. You'll find it. This is new. It's called a Health Snapshot at one of the universities in St. Louis, the medical center there, that you can obtain any history of cancer among any of the patient's close relatives, and they do it for the people that work there. So check with your family and some of the big companies they work for and see if they don't have a program such as this. One of my favorite research sites is the BYU research process, and several years ago I bought their programming, and it was a 2 DVD thing, but right now, things have progressed so much that you can click on one of those and go into and use streaming, and you don't even have to buy it anymore. So if you know how to stream, that's the way to go with finding information without having to pay for it. This is another one. This might be a good family thing to do, to pull up Learn Genetics at the University of Utah. They have a lot of interesting programs for you, for your children. This is the one I was explaining to you about the study from the National Demographic Project. And this is what was sent to me as a result. And as you can see, I started out in Africa. Some went off, some went up here. And this is my haplotype. I'm a J. And we went on up in there. So, the haplo J. Since my participation in the Genographic Project, I've had lots of emails from other haplotype J's asking me what family lines we're working on, and so it's a very good communication, trying to find out exactly where your family came from. And I got the same information from 23andMe, so that was good that they both were the same things. And they're finding out more and more about the different haplotypes because they keep adding little numbers after them. So the things are getting better. And I've already mentioned to you about this, but one of the things that's changed is the data sharing policy. Just in the last month, that all of these organizations that have your DNA information, they have to share it with you. The PGP didn't have to, but now they do. So, in other words, they didn't tell me anything. Nothing. Okay? But very shortly, I will be getting some information. This is another program that I'm involved in, the American Gut Project. And what they're finding out is what's going on in your belly. There's a lot of microbes in there, and they're trying to help reveal the patterns in diet and lifestyle that shape our microbial communities, like where you live, what state you live in, what country you live in. Here's a new one. Anybody with a red hand? I used to have red hair, but it's gone. Okay. This has been very interesting because 3 of my children have red hair. And so this has been going on for a year now. And what's been interesting is that you can be, brown hair has a gene. Red hair does not have a gene. So red hair is a variation of whatever else, probably brown. And there are 20 million red hair gene carriers in the UK. And this is what happened to me.
Yeah.
Right here. 100 times more susceptible. Okay? So in Scotland and Ireland, their project revealed just how red-headed that nation they really are. This is, if you'd like to pull up a copy of a chromosome map, this is the way to do it. You can type in the National Center for Biotech Information, genes and disease, and ask for the chromosome map. You can learn a lot. And it's very easy, to me, it's easy to understand. And this was begun in this last year, and it's going to be done nationally now, every year. And I'm confirmed that the National Human Genome Research Institute will continue to sponsor with different museums around the country. And this would be something very good that this organization might want to get involved in. Dr. Collins, in 2006, he's the one who was responsible for personalized medicine and caused a revolution in medicine. And Dr. Collins is now head of our National Institute of Health. And so that's a good thing. So this project that they have in progress, they haven't finished it yet, but what they're doing is developing the catalog of human genetic variation. This is from 23andMe. This is me. And this tells you some of my health risks, the elevations, coronary heart disease, venous thrombolism, I already had that. I've had this ever since when? What did that say? Psoriasis, yeah, got that from my dad. Glaucoma, I don't have that yet. Ulcerative colitis, well, I don't know. Who knows? But inherited conditions here, I have a couple of deficiencies, but they're not going to be anything. But anyway, they give you a list of traits all the way down. This one kind of blew my mind. Earwax type. Are you wet or dry? So this is a little bit about chromosomes and what's on your chromosomes. Like here's one. This is chromosome 1, 2, 3, 4. No. And down here, looking. What's important to me is here's X and Y. But look how some don't have much on them. Like this one. Look at this one. So I don't have an answer for that, but I'm sure at some point I will find the answer. And these were some of the lists that was what's on there. Here's blue or green eyes, blood pressure, blonde or brown hair, just lots of things. Some diseases.
That chromosome map.
Pardon?
That chromosome map.
Yeah, this is, So, why are we talking about personal genetics? Because it's going down in price. I think the first one was $300,000. Craig Ventnor was the owner of this company that was doing all this, and he spent his money, and the people who were part of his consortium, and they did the first one, and so now I know you can get one a complete genome sequencing for $3,000, but soon they're saying, look, go back. They're saying soon it's going to be down to 1,000. So when this Human Genomes Project is finished, we're going to be able to determine exactly where the genes are located on each of the genomes, and they're just about finished with that. And 20,000 to 25,000 assessed genes. And pretty soon you're going to be able to get a gene map. I mean, I don't think I will live long enough, but, you know, it's going to happen. The idea is to find the right drugs and the right doses for my condition. Motivation for you to change your habits and planning for any long-term medical and financial needs. In other words, if you find out that you're going to have Alzheimer's and it's coming, you certainly want to be able to get some long-term care insurance or different other types of insurance, or make sure that your children are well aware of what might or might not happen. And also to inform your reproductive decisions. This is a big thing. I've worked with people with disabilities. I know what's out there. They should never have been born. So, you need to decide what it's going to mean for you and for your family. One of the things about gene therapy is the fact that I believe very strongly in it, but there's a lot of things that happen in society. What impounds the treatment for gene therapy for some groups of people, mixed marriages. That's going to be a big problem to find donors that are like you. That's going to be much harder. So replacing mutated genes, that's going to be the secret of how doctors are going to be able to treat you, because when you have a mutated gene, they're going to be able to go in and zap them. They're going to be able to. So if you don't know what the gene testing is, you don't know what your variations are. So you're going to have to know. Leukemia is the big one that I know that they've been doing a lot in with gene therapy. So this has a lot to do with the telomerase too. Sorry. Okay. So, your family history. You need to look at what risk factors you have. The big ones are CAD, hypertension, stroke, obesity, and diabetes. That's in the United States. And this Geisinger Genetic Medicine, that's a wonderful website. You can find out a great deal of information. So, putting this another way, half of Americans have at least one of the three risk factors. You can get a copy of this wallet card by typing in exactly what's there and get a copy of it. And it's very, very nice, and it's front and back. And you can keep it in your wallet. You can show your doctor. You don't have to redo it every time you go in. You know, have it with you. It's real neat. Your taxes pay for this. So if you're going to ask for a DNA test, if a doctor orders it, he's going to be looking at your person's genetic code at specific locations.
Could you just back up one slide?
Okay.
Other folks want to write that too. Yeah.
Got it? Okay. So what you're looking for are specific genetic diseases or disorders.
Yes. Yeah, I'm getting it.
And that term is genetic genealogy. And I gave this to you once with the Geisinger. But you can also call them if you have questions about your family history. That's what's good about this organization. And this is new. The Wellcome Trust, it's a very noble organization in Great Britain. and they're leading for a test for 100 genes that predispose people to cancer. And they're working with one of our pathology companies, Illumina. So when you talk about cancer now, we're going to be talking about what kind. Okay? Whether it's sporadic, hereditary, or familial. Sporadic, well, it just happens. Hereditary, you've got a gene, okay? Familial, it's like you're a carrier. And these are our risk factors for cancer. And of course you can see epigenetics is involved in this. Tobacco, sunlight, chemicals, certain chemicals do it. Some viruses, some bacteria, hormones, family history of cancer, and alcohol. You never think about that, but those are risk factors. And the reason that I said that I felt like that you needed more than 4 generations of genealogy for your pedigree to stay abreast of what's going on in the world today, because so much of the information we get is not just from the United States, it's from around the world. And having lived in Japan to see that they have stomach cancer, well, I can tell you, when I was an Army nurse, it was a court-martial offense to eat raw fish in Japan. So, sounds like that's probably a bad thing. And of course, in Australia, it's a very hot climate, very humid climate. And for Canada, I don't know about leukemia, other than the fact that I know they do a lot of oil, pipeline stuff, and you don't know what's in the water. And the UK lung cancer, I thought about that, and of course a lot of smoking. I don't think they're quite as tough on smokers as we are. But the other thing is, remember when they have those volcanic eruptions and they come down and it's in the air and they can't do anything. Air flights are canceled. So I'm just guessing that their air is not as good as ours. Maybe they're not following the green gases that everybody else is getting involved in.
Notice Russia's not on there. That would be interesting. Russia.
Yes, well, you know how Russia is. They don't communicate with anybody.
They wouldn't tell us anything.
So, genetic diseases are included in ethnicity-based carrier screening. And that's just what we were talking about. Because that's why you need to know where your family came from. Because you don't know how long those genes are going to be carried in your genealogy. And one of the ways to help with healthy pregnancies is genetic testing. Some of the information tools that you can find out more information are from these organizations that are wonderful. The Genetic Alliance, I know that's really good for rare diseases. This National Society of Genetic Counselors. I think that if I had to do over again, I used to think I should have been a doctor, but now I think I should have been a genetic counselor. So I think that right now that is a great, in fact I've encouraged a couple of my granddaughters who are in college that they ought to look into becoming a genetic counselor. I think it's going to be a wonderful occupation. So, if you don't know how to use the internet, I tell you what, you just can't do genealogy on an iPad. You just can't do it. You got to have the latest things like what's available here in your library here. Learn to be an eye patient. That's the internet patient. Because you're going to be able, it won't be long, and you're going to be able to go to your doctor's office and they will have a computer in their office and you will be able to go in there and see your medical records and get a copy all by yourself. That's coming. So you need to be able to know how to work around the computer. And so what I'm going to close with are pharmacogenomics and personalized medicine. And so this is rather new, and it goes along with personalized treatment because you're going to be able to be treated for drugs that are specifically for you. And the 10 drugs with the largest numbers of reports sent directly to the FDA. By the way, I'm on one of the advisory committees for the FDA. I read material every day that you would not believe about what drugs are causing reactions and are having to either take them off the market or change the labels or do a lot of stuff. But the 10 drugs, Coumadin, Levaquin, carboplatin, Zestril, cisplatin, that's one of them that gave me Stevens-Johnson syndrome. Lucin, that caused me to have bleeding. Cymbalta, never tried that one. Cipro, well, first, here's Bactrim, that's the Septor-DS, that's the one that got me. And then, when I was leaving the hospital with the second time, with the DVT, they put me on Cipro and it happened again. So I believe strongly in personalized medicine, and that's what I'm here today to encourage you to think about it, because if doctors know your genes, they can predict your drug response. This was in last Sunday's paper. I mean, this is amazing. Celebrex, 100 tabs, cost $130. Their ingredients, 75 cents. Norvac, $180 for 100 of them, and it cost them 20 cents. $7.70 for Paxil. 200. I mean, that's why pharmacy companies are the only ones that advertise on TV and the Parade magazine and all those other things. It is amazing. So I'm here to answer questions. If anybody would like a signed autograph book, I think I have 4 just left. The others you can have to get from Amazon. But I'm here to answer any questions you might have. Yeah, please.
My neighbor just passed away in the hospital. She had shoulder surgery, and after they gave her the anesthesia, she just died before they could operate on her. And we don't know why yet, but thinking it might be a drug reaction.
And when this is over, come up and talk to me about it. Okay? I have a hand raised over here.
I am also in 23andMe and also in DNA projects with Family Tree DNA. And I'm curious about what your feelings are about the Family Tree DNA type.
Well, I got an email from Genetic Genealogy yesterday, and anybody else get it too? No? All you got to do is sign up for Genetic Genealogists and you'll get the latest stuff out.
And then my other question was what your feelings are on the latest ruling with 23andMe.
I think it's belligerent on it.
Amen.
Just my opinion. Not only in person do my doctors like it, but all about the doctors that write about it in their column.
What did you say? We couldn't hear you.
Who's talking?
Oh,
I want to know what she's just said.
Oh,
And what's your
They
reply?
probably don't
then?
know what it was.
what's my
They
reply?
left the faces. I'm sorry, there's a there was a lawsuit with 23andMe, and they ruled against.
Well, it's not a lawsuit. FDA, guess what? FDA wrote a letter to 23andMe telling them that they had not answered all the questions that they wanted answered. That's what it's all about. And 23andMe, they're working on the answer. Okay? So there's no lawsuit.
Is it worth it to do 23andMe?
Oh, absolutely.
That's the point.
Absolutely.
Not right now, because they're no longer able to give you that information. They're not able to give you that software report. And what needs to be done is the Federal Drug Administration needs to get on these companies that say you can rub this cream on your face and it'll take 20 years off, or you can take this pill and eat whatever you want. And it's not true, but this has been proven that it's actually factual.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah.
The issue of Nature magazine that you mentioned, talked about epigenetics, I think.
Okay.
You said 2013. Remember what month?
Well,
That's what month that 2013
Yeah.
reference was, I think, but
Years old.
of nature, I believe it was.
That's okay, I'll find it. I don't think it was shown on the slide.
Said you mentioned it, I didn't talk to you after I didn't talk to you after.
okay, come back up here. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.